Yeah, that's right, Kelly. I was in the Oval Office. As President Trump said, the final details of the U.S.-UK trade agreement are being written up now, but he called this a historic day, and he praised the negotiating teams of both countries, even as he put UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer on speakerphone to talk to reporters who were gathered there. The White House has not released the specifics of the trade agreement just yet, but the president said he agreed to certain exceptions for Rolls-Royce in particular because he doesn't see that company as a threat to the broader U.S. car market. And Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the baseline U.S. 10% tariffs on the U.K. will remain in place as part of this deal. And I asked the president if that's a template for the rest of the trade deals he's negotiating. That is, will the 10% tariffs stay in place in every case? Here's what he said.
That's a low number. They made a good deal. Some will be much higher because they have massive trade surpluses, and, in many cases, they didn't treat us right.
I also just spoke with U.S. Trade Advisor Jamieson Greer, who confirms that the White House considers that 10% baseline tariff to be the baseline, and they aren't looking to go below that number in any of these trade deals. Now, for context, take a look at this chart of U.S. exports and imports with the U.K. There you see the exports in orange, the imports in blue, and you can see that the U.S. runs a trade surplus with the U.K. It works out to about $12 billion of exports more than the U.K. buys from the United States. That's what made this a relatively easier deal to get to. I also asked the president about Ford and Mattel, saying this week that they're going to have to raise prices on certain products as a result of his tariffs. The president said that he just doesn't believe that in the end those companies are going to raise prices. He said what they're doing with those announcements is trying to negotiate with him by talking about that publicly. Ultimately, he says, look, the companies can absorb the costs here. He expects that's what will happen, and that, American consumers in the end are not going to bear the brunt of this.
As you heard, he attacked the Mattel CEO quite vociferously there and basically said, that's not reality. You also asked him about whether he's going to call Fed Chair Powell, and he said, no, talking to him is like talking to a wall.
Yeah, very negative on Powell, but he's sort of walked back from this idea that I think rattled the markets in the past month of, that he might fire Powell or seek some way to get him out, just sort of venting his frustration. It's not clear that the two men have talked at all this term, even though the president, routinely says in public what he thinks about the Fed chair. We'll see where that relationship goes. For now, it's the president venting that other countries around the world are cutting rates when the United States is not.
Yeah, he said he's always too late, Powell. Eamon, appreciate it for now. Eamon Javers at the White House.